$50 checks, money we didn't have. It really galvanized the gay community. And while, I've been elected to office myself, I have to say there was absolutely nothing like the enthusiasm when Chris won in 1993. And Chris went on to make us really proud. I mean, the whole city looked at her because she raised more money than any other candidate in that race that year. And it really put her on the map politically in San Diego. I'll never forget what it felt like to go to work for her at City Hall. She really exceeded all expectations. She was a council member for the entire community, gay, straight, ethnic. She really set the bar very high for all of us. And it's such a wonderful thing to celebrate her 20 years of public service and to say that she was our pioneer. Chris Kehoe was our Harvey Milk in San Diego. She's an incredible person, a wonderful public servant, and a really good friend. And I'm thrilled to be here tonight to celebrate her success, and we couldn't have done it without her. So Chris, thank you.
Because in my new position, I'll still be traveling to Sacramento regularly, Los Angeles, San Francisco, maybe a little bit out of state, working on cleaning the environment, energy independence, and getting these cars on the street. So if you want to know about electric vehicles, you want to test drive something, we'll go right to the top. Call me. To Tom, Noel, and Larry Baza, the owners of this beautiful space, yes. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the arts work you have done in San Diego over the years. You're both stalwarts and have contributed so much. To Sue Palmer and Sharon Schufelt.
I have known Chris Kehoe since, I was about late 30s, early 40s, my early 40s. Now I'm 42. No, it's been 25 years on this journey with Chris while she's had political office. And we were partiers together. And then she ran for office. And when I first heard her name, Chris Kehoe, I didn't know if it was a man or a woman, because the name was kind of neutral. So then I met her at various parties and I figured it out. And then my brother and many men started dying of AIDS. And it was very sad. But the women had to take over for a long time because there was a big vacancy in a lot of the political offices. So Chris stepped in, and I was really happy about that because I knew how competent she was, and I trusted her. I donated to the AIDS Foundation because of her, and I think that's why a lot of people feel that way, because she's got a fantastic reputation as a money collector, or whatever you call it in politics. I'm a musician. When she started winning offices, it was fantastically exciting, and I wanted to make sure she always had good sound, good music, good events that people enjoyed, so that they would continue supporting her. It was what I could do as a musician to help her. And we became really good friends. Julie, her partner, and I started hanging out a lot, and Julie is an artist and helped me with my promotional material, and we would do art projects together, both of our art projects. Tonight is an art project. It's a goodbye to Chris and a thank you. I guess it's not a goodbye, because now she's going to be promoting electric cars. So we'll have to be buying a new car now. And so we're just going on. We're moving forward, and I hope that she needs music at her events in the future. And Julie and I will keep making art together. And I just, Chris has made me very proud, and I'm happy to be called her friend. And thank you all so much, especially Vertez.
Thank you for being here. And to Jacob Tonaire, that little guy behind Sharon Schufelt, whose birthday is today. Yay! birthday, Jacob. 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday, Jacob! And finally to my life partner and wonderful, wonderful companion, everybody's asking me about how I took this transition, and I can give you a nice positive answer because Julie has been so supportive. But a lot of it was really difficult. Luckily, that's all behind us. And Julie was so helpful and so understanding, as always. Thank you, dear, for all your love and support. Appreciate it. So I can see that you're all shifting on your toes. Let's go back to what's left of the champagne and the art and the music. And I thank you all for being here. I really wish I could call each and one of you up here, because when I look across this room, I see friends who have been helping me for decades and decades, literally. And I deeply appreciate it every time. I absolutely know in my heart I would not be here without your support. I know we changed our city in a little way. We set it on a new trajectory, and we're still bearing the benefits of that, I'm happy to say. But I could not have done it without your help. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Deanna Spain, and I've been privileged for the last 9 years to serve as Chris's policy director. Working with Chris has been one of the highlights of my life. No 2 days have been the same. We've taken on bold issues regionally and statewide, from revising fire prevention and fire laws statewide, to revamping the airport authority in San Diego, to preserving over 14,000 acres of open space in San Diego. Thank you, Chris. You've made this into one grand adventure, and I'll fondly remember you forever.
Julie. Well, Chris and I met actually through my wife, Maureen, and no, I take it back. Shortly after I first came out, I worked on Chris's campaign when she was running for city council. And I've known her ever since and followed her career. I think she's a wonderful politician. I hope that her time in Sacramento doesn't signal the end of her political career. In fact, I'd actually love to see her run for mayor or even higher office, if that's something that she'd be interested in doing. So I'm here. There's her partner, Julie Warren, has created a wonderful retrospective of all of Chris's years in office, and in addition to some of her other wonderful artwork. And so I'm here to peruse the art, schmooze a little bit with everybody, and have a great time.
Hi, I'm Craig Roberts. I got involved in Christine Kehoe's city council race because I knew some people that were active in the San Diego Democratic Club. I had been writing a music review column for the Gay and Lesbian Times back in the early 90s called Sound Advice. And Jerry Dilno was the assistant editor of the Times back then. And by that time I had met her good friend Mike Lloyd and Charlie McCain. In '92 I was very excited about Barbara Boxer running for the U.S. Senate. So I never thought she'd make it past the primary, and when she won the primary, I thought I've got to do something to help her out because her opponent was just really awful and anti-gay. So I think I maybe went and phone banked maybe 2 nights, maybe 3 nights for Barbara Boxer, and I just thought that was an incredible time commitment. But she won, and it felt great. Bill Clinton won the presidency, Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer both became U.S. senators, and it was 1992 was a pretty good year. And so I'd already tasted a little bit of victory. Mike Lloyd asked me to come to a meeting at the back of someone's house in Hillcrest. I can't remember whose it was. He said that there was an open lesbian who stood a good chance of winning a city council election in 1993. So I went to meet Chris Kehoe, and it was about in February or March of that year, I believe. And we had a great campaign. I remember the first time John Hartley, who was the incumbent council member and had decided not to run for election, asked as many volunteers as possible to come to the campaign office one day, and he was going to teach us how to walk precincts, which I'd never heard of. And so John Hartley was explaining how to do this, and I remember that first of all I was shocked that we weren't going to knock on every house, that we had a targeted list of voters. I was very naive about politics back then. And moreover, that we were going to try to ask or figure out from talking to the people we actually did talk to which candidate they were supporting. And this just really offended me. I really had to get over it. And I really didn't like the idea of just walking up to total strangers' doorsteps and doing this, but I figured, well, okay, if it's this important for the campaign and I really wanted Chris to win, then I'll do it. And I still remember the first precinct I was walking was somewhere over in Kensington, and I think it seemed like the whole block, one of the first blocks I went to, was filled with Republicans in their 60s and 70s. And I thought, there is no way these people are going to be voting for an open lesbian. And it seemed like time after time they were telling me that they were going to be supporting Chris Kehoe. So that was a very positive experience. And I also really liked walking precincts because it was a very healthy thing to do. You're out walking in neighborhoods, and it really is the most important thing you can do for your candidate. So I walked that one precinct, and it was such a positive experience. I think I wound up walking about 20 for the campaign. I'm pretty sure I walked about 1/6 of the entire council district. So it was pretty amusing, to me at least, that from like April and May of never having walked a precinct before, by the time the fall election rolled around, I had walked so many precincts. And I guess I've become known since then as the precinct walker, although I'm in my 50s now, and my knees are not what they used to be, and all those stairways in District 3 are hard to go up and down sometimes in those apartment complexes. So I don't know how much of this I have left in me, but it was great doing it for Chris, and you can't argue with the results. Chris, I love you. Being involved in your campaign was one of the best experiences of my life, and my life has never been the same because of it. And being involved with your campaign in politics and the LGBT community has enriched my life in ways I could never have imagined growing up in Oklahoma.
Second, and I'm going to get it. And I want you to take them with you.
Well, it's wonderful to be here this evening. My name's Crystal Crawford, and I met Chris Kehoe in 1999. And I was a newly elected city council member in the smallest city in San Diego County. And I had this bright idea that I wanted to talk to other women, elected officials, and get their experiences and their advice so that I could be sure to do a good job of serving my constituents. So Chris Kehoe was one of the women that I talked to, and I also talked to folks like Lucy Calais and others who I knew or were recommended to me. But I remember going to City Hall and sitting down with Chris at her conference room table in her office. She was still a city council member at that time, and asking her about, well, what kind of advice would she have for somebody like me? And of course, I don't remember exactly what she said, but of course to work hard and do your homework and make sure to listen to people and probably learn how to disagree without being disagreeable, all those kinds of great things. But Chris definitely left an impression on me as someone who listened to you when you were talking to her, who was interested in what you had to say, and who was present with you when I was there in her office with her, and sincerely wanted to help me do the best that I could as a new elected official. So I'm proud to say that I've remained friends and colleagues and worked with Chris over these many years as she went to the Assembly and then to the Senate. She is an amazing person, so hardworking and so thoughtful, and as others have said about her, common sense and great instincts, and has done just an amazing job of representing her region, her constituents, and the people throughout the state of California. So I wish her the best as she goes on to new adventures, as she and Julie hopefully take some time off and do some fun things too. And I know, of course, that we'll see her around San Diego. So Chris, thanks for all that you've done for people like me.
Hi, my name's Gay Johnson. I'm from San Diego, and I first met Chris back in 1993 when she was running for city council. I was just starting off in financial services, and I think she and I were both making the rounds of all the different social groups, trying to network and what have you. And we just struck up a conversation, and she introduced me to this women's a cappella group called Sweet Honey and the Rock. And I wasn't familiar with them at all, and she just totally sold them, and they happened to be coming into town, so we got tickets, and we drove all the way up to Escondido to see them, and it was totally worth the wait. So just over the years, I've just, run into her and followed her career, of course, and just been so happy and so proud for her, and just amazed at all the things that she's been able to do over the years. And now it's come to full circle, and she's going on, moving out of politics into the private sector again, and just so happy for her, and we're just really thankful for all the leadership that she provided to the LGBT community over the years.
I'm Rich Lieb.
Sharon Lieb.
And we're here to pay tribute to the wonderful work that Chris has done over all these years. We've known her for about 10 years and have contributed regularly to her campaign. And the only thing I would tell you is a couple of things. One is that Chris and I would go out to coffee at Starbucks at least once a year and just catch up on political gossip. And I'd give her my worldview, and she would give me her worldview, and we always had a really good time doing that. And second of all, I went to Israel with her and with Julie on a trip that we did about 3 or 4 years ago, and we had a wonderful time for about 10 days traveling together. So we've gotten to know her through that way as well. And she's one of the really, really wonderful people. And about 3 weeks ago, I happened to be up in Sacramento, and I was with Darrell Steinberg, who's a good friend of mine, and I said, one of the things that's so sad is that Chris is no longer going to be in the state Senate. And he just said, she is one of the great people, and I am so sorry that term limits has, put an end to that, to her career, because she's really one of the really, really good ones. So we just wanted to say our tribute.
Thanks for fighting the good fight, Chris.
Okay, my name is George Biaggi, and I had the pleasure of working in Christine's office from 1995 to 2000 as her press secretary and one of her council reps. And I also had the pleasure of working as one of the volunteers on her 1993 groundbreaking campaign when she was the first openly gay or lesbian elected official in San Diego history. The thing about Christine is she was the easiest person to work for, and especially to campaign for, because when you got to go door to door, you were able to express how much you loved and believed in this person, because everything you got to say about her was true. She was hardworking, dedicated, ethical, really knew the issues and the people in her district, and she's one of those once-in-a-lifetime sort of candidates that comes along and blazes a trail for those that follow, and what a trail she has blazed. She's a wonderful woman, a good friend, and she's someone that this community will be forever indebted to, and I love her. So, Christine, congratulations on an amazing career in public service, and I wish you the best in everything in life.
I'm Jason Weiss, and Chris, I just want to say thank you for 11 years, 11 big long years of employment. I've always admired you, and I've always been proud to say I work for Christine Kehoe. So to a very bright future ahead for you with the California electric vehicle parking 1 million cars. Thank you, Chris. Bye-bye.
My name is Teresa Hoyos. And I wanted to tell Chris that a fond memory I have is when you hired me at the Gazette, #1. because I know Julie wasn't really excited. She thought I was straight. But then you saw potential with my portfolio when I came in, with my suit, and you hired me. So I was very excited to work at the San Diego Gazette. And then we'd have dance breaks with Blair, and it was just one of the most fond memories I have of my work time, and getting to know you and Julie and everybody that worked there. But when you went to visit my daughter when she had my first grandchild, Jenica, who is now 26 and a graduate of Lewis and Clark University, and now she lives in Seattle. I always mention you to her, and she knows that you went to visit her, you and Julie. So I'm just very glad that we've stayed friends. I love you and Julie very much, and we got to get together more. I love you. Congratulations on moving on, and thank you for all you've done for our community. Okay, I'm done.
My name is Tonya Hill, and I just want to say that you and I have known each other for a very, very, very long time, and I'm glad to have been a part of your life and that you've been a part of mine, and how exciting this is for you to move on and move forward to a new endeavor. You'll be missed in government, in U.S. government, and we all appreciate you very, very, very much, very much. So here's to you. Cheers.
Whatever you say,
Hey, I'm Trudy Sopp, and I knew Chris Kehoe before she was famous. Actually, I knew Chris when she was working at the city of San Diego after she had finished with being a council aide, and she was working in one of the city departments. I think it was Community Development Department, and she was bored to tears. She and I had lunch together, and she said, Trudy, I don't think I can do this. She'd only been on staff for 6 months, and she was already bored. And she indicated that some people were encouraging her to run for council. She wasn't asking me what I thought, because that isn't really my arena. I had met Chris when she worked in Hartley's office. I facilitated some impossible retreats when she was in that office. Anyway, obviously the rest is history. Chris ran for council. You all know what happened. But the story I like to tell, though, and Chris has heard this, but I want it for the archives, is that the city manager at the time just didn't think she would win. And Chris who? Chris Kehoe? I mean, I haven't heard of her. And then she won and raised more money than any council candidate had before her for any district. And I'm telling you, the brass at City Hall was overwhelmed. They were impressed immediately. Money talks, and it talked for them. And I love that story because, of course, Chris's clarity and her clear thinking and her ability to articulate on the spot, there's nobody like her. And so I'm thrilled to be here tonight to be able to put a bookend and be part of the bookend on that career. And I just wanted to be sure the archives had that story. Thank you.
My name is Martha Elaine Grable, but you know everybody calls me Laney. And the truth of the matter is, I didn't work on the first campaign. I'm like a latecomer. I wasn't there at the beginning, but I came in sort of in the middle, and it was the best place to be. I came in because, you know, I was a friend of Maureen Steiner's, and she was coaching the gay and lesbian softball team, and I'm like, what in the world is the gay and lesbian softball team? But, you know, they needed to raise money, and so that's how it all started. They said, can you help us raise $1,000? And that's how I met the gay and lesbian community, the LGBT community as we're known now. I was just an ordinary straight woman who knew how to ask people for money. And what I found was the most extraordinary thing had happened before I came into this. A marvelous, fabulous person whose name was Christine Kehoe had become a city councilwoman. And they'd never elected a gay person before. They probably didn't even know what a gay person was. But you know what? She was like this great lady. Everybody loved her. She did a great job. She was really organized. She knew what she was doing. And you know, when I was working for the softball team, why, Tony Atkins, who worked for her, well, that's when I met her. And we all know what happened to Tony Atkins. If you work for Christine Kehoe, the next thing you know, you're liable to be running for public office. But the most exciting thing was, this is a community that had not been represented. And suddenly there was a face, there was a woman, there was an advocate. But you know, Chris Kehoe, she wasn't just an advocate for the LGBT community. She was an advocate for everyone who lived in her district. And that's what I remember. Because you know, she also ran for Congress. And I was involved in that campaign because Bill Beck, who raised money when she ran for her first city council race, he raised money on the congressional campaign. And you know what, baby cakes? He didn't leave any stone left unturned. It didn't matter if you were gay or if you were straight or if you were transgendered. If you had a checkbook, Bill had your name. So these were all the people. They were the people in my community because somehow, because I raised money for the softball team, I suddenly was raising money for diversionary or for other gay candidates or for the center or for, and you know why that is? Because those of us who care about justice, we're glad to work on justice wherever it is. And Christine Kehoe is the face of justice. And Bill Beck, he knew how to raise money for justice. And Elaine Grable, was glad to participate in that. However, I cannot end this story without saying a word about Julie Warren, because in the process of being involved with Democratic Party politics and gay politics, I got to know Julie. Well, the thing about Julie was she made the greatest art in the world. And I'm like, Julie, we've got to have some parties and we've got to sell this art. So the next thing you know, I'm saying, okay, let's have an event at Diversionary Theater, or let's have an event at somebody's house, or let's have an event and let's sell. I think the actual first event was at Cafe Elm Park. I think I said to Andy, we've got to sell Julie's artwork. And he's like, well, let's have a party. And isn't that how it all starts? I'm from the South, and I can tell you, it all starts with, let's have a party. And so when I think about Chris Kehoe, when I think about Julie Warren, when I think about Bill Beck, when I think about the community, when I think about all the wonderful things that have happened, I can honestly say it all started with, let's have a party. So I say to you all, if you want to run for office, let's have a party.